Hi everyone, greetings from National Skills Network, popularly known as NSN. And today in conversation with me is Ms. Anita Rajan, CEO, Tata STRIVE. As you are all aware, Tata STRIVE is one of the leading organizations in the skilling sector, and they have been able to handle the issues coming from the pandemic in coping with various aspects of skilling and making things continue as if nothing has happened. Isn't that something really interesting to know more about? So today we have with us Ms. Rajan discussing few issues about how the pandemic has affected skilling in the overall manner and how many organizations have been coping with it, and how as an organization Tata Strive has shown agility and forward-looking aspects of running an organization in the one of the most challenging spaces and continuing with the program by using technology and using many other things that we would like to know from her. So welcome to this conversation today, Ms. Anita. I would like to know more from you about how Tata Strive has been going ahead during the tough times and trying to make skilling successful. So please tell us more about various aspects, that come into the picture today and what we can all learn from you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madhuri. Actually, the pandemic was something that took us all by surprise. So it's a huge, event that affects the entire humanity. But what the pandemic, coming specifically to Tata Strive and to us here in India, did was it's a very dramatic change. It happened very quickly, and there was no time to react and to prepare for it. And I think that when such events happen, if you haven't created habits or you haven't built a foundation on certain strengths, you will be taken off guard. So the dramatic change with no time to prepare was one big learning from the pandemic. And the reason why you have to be prepared at all times and build on strengths which come in play when such an event happens. The second thing was that it was a constantly evolving situation. Nobody knew what was happening. Information was rare to find. What was happening in industry? People were moving back. There was a large scale migration that was happening. Jobs were being lost. So it was sifting sands. And in such a situation where the situation is changing, I think just being able to understand what is going to happen now, but keeping an eye on what will happen after this and what will happen long term. These are all things that leadership should be aware of, because you don't plan for, you address the emergency, but you also plan for what is going to come ahead. And the third thing we kept in mind was we must come out stronger from this. Yes, it's a bad phase. There has to be some silver lining to this dark cloud. And we have to be able to position Tata Strive in the best way possible for what will happen post-COVID. So we did a couple of things in sequence. One is, of course, the safety of our employees was first, no brainer. We first stocked all our centers and got people into safe zones, didn't want anybody coming to the center. But the second concern we had was about our students, that their learning should continue. We did not want their learning to come to a standstill. And this is where some of our strong foundation that we had built upon, for instance, our DNA towards innovating, constantly rethinking and trying to do things better. Our adoption of technology, we had a strong technology platform. Technology was embedded in our processes. We had a great database of people. Our professional development of our faculty was being tracked. Everything was available to us on technology. And that really helped us reimagine ourselves, which was the next step. That if Tata Strive has to actually build an advantage out of this situation and let our students continue on their journey, we need to reach out to them. And clearly the mobile phone was the new school. If you had a mobile phone, you were connected, you could continue your learning. And and what would the mobile phone do for you if there were no digital content available? So making available digital content was our first task to continue the learning. And we did it in a manner, now you can't do that dramatically. And that is where agility comes in. So agility was actually the hallmark of our mental framework at that time. We had to be agile and adapt to at every stage of the pandemic. And we're doing that even now, because I don't think we are over it yet. And what did that agility mean? It meant that our faculty, who we had actually recruited to teach in the class, face to face, sit in front of 35 students and teach, now needed to become digital superstars. So we created a course for them on very quickly, teaching them the skills on how to adapt their content, their style of teaching to a digital mode. And we had a whole big team, cross-functional team, creating blended learning. A model in which there would be both lectures, there would be online classes, they would also, when the pandemic is over, come in with social distancing to our labs to learn. So blended is a mix of all these styles. Now, to be able to do that, we also needed to keep an eye on the what should we teach? Blended learning is fine, but what should we teach? Should we be teaching all the stuff that we had been doing earlier, or has the business environment changed? And clearly it had. Sectors like hospitality was sort of closing down on jobs. People were losing jobs very drastically there. And it didn't look like this was going to pick up soon. But there were other areas that were coming up, whether it was healthcare, whether it was digital skills, whether it was local jobs, local rural entrepreneurship. These were all things that we saw that were going to happen. Retail, especially contactless home delivery services. These were things that were growing. So we had to look at sectoral developments. And all of us in Tata STRIVE, the leadership actually, we rolled up our sleeves, spoke to people from different sectors, CEOs, CXOs from different sectors to understand what were the shifts that were happening in industry. And at the same time, our courses were being developed in line with what these shifts were happening. So agility means constantly responding to the changes in to the environment. But this also meant that we had to change the mindsets. They were, luckily for us, the kind of people that we have are a good mix from corporate and social sector. And we are constantly investing in developing them professionally. And that helped because they were open-minded. We promote something called a growth mindset in all our training programs, even amongst our students. And what that means is being open-minded to change, looking at new ideas, adapting, leaving out the old, welcoming the new. These were all things that we are taught when somebody comes into Tata STRIVE. And therefore, this kind of growth mindset in each of us, because even if you take something like a finance function in Tata STRIVE, which is actually sitting in the office and working on numbers and giving checks, they too had to go into find digital modes working. The mobilizer, a person who brought children into the classes, students, they had to start using social media to mobilize people. So every function, whether it was faculty, whether it was mobilizers, whether it was the support functions, everybody had to, actually implement the growth mindset. The other thing we did was agility and, being forward-looking also involves learning new. It's a constant pathway to learning new skills. And of course, our faculty had to learn new skills because they were now had to become digital superstars. But at the same time, with the shift in sectoral focus, we actually launched a program called Expand Your Horizons, in which faculty were given the opportunity to learn adjacent sectoral skills. So if I was a hospitality faculty, I could also learn a little more about retail. There were many customer-facing roles in retail which needed similar kind of teaching. So we strengthen our faculty through this program, Expand Your Horizons, to strengthen their skills, to help them learn new skills. And we did this across all functions. Mm-hmm. So whether, as I said, across different departments, everybody was given a chance to actually reflect, how does my role change because of this pandemic? And we created cross-functional teams. Typically organizations, when they grow, you tend to have departments, and then those departments become silos, and slowly those silos don't talk to each other. That's typically what happens. But this disruption helped us create cross-functional teams. So we brought in people from partnership who were talking to the customers. That is the industry demand, what was happening, which courses, how is industry adapting. We had people from operations who were actually doing the training, running the centers and managing those. We had faculty, we had a technology team. All of these became a cross-functional team, and together we were strategizing on what should we do next. Now, how do we continue our students learning seamlessly? And I think by March, the pandemic started. By April, we were already, gone digital. And as I speak, there are new blended courses that are coming out each day that we are releasing. And we believe that and this is about the now and the next, if I may say, immediate reaction and what we see coming. But what about, let's say, 6 months, 7 months down the line? One also needs to reflect and crystal gaze and talk with people and collaborate to get a sense of what is going to actually be the new normal, as most people are saying. And two things in my mind will happen. I think being agile and responding quickly to a changing situation will be a quality that will be needed, let's say, in the next 3 or 4 years for sure, and going forward. The other thing that will definitely be needed is a constant requirement to innovate.
Right.
We can't be rigid in our ways. If we have created a model, it worked very well in place A, it's not necessary that it will work again in the future. And therefore, creating the capabilities within the organization to innovate, to rethink, to design. That's why we have a design and incubation team within the operations, which is constantly thinking of new models, new ways to customize, basis the kind of jobs that are needed. And when we say forward looking, I think a couple of things are going to happen because of the migration. Rural jobs is going to become important, Madhuri.
Right.
A lot of people going back home to their villages. Some may come back, a large number may come back, but many may not. And for those who don't, and for those who in any case don't migrate, rural jobs is going to be of significance. Mm-hmm. I think that is an area where we haven't done enough. Not just Tata STRIVE, but I think all of us, we just haven't focused on it. And there's some very interesting models which we are exploring. We have a wonderful program in Odisha where, so we call them, we have this program where we invite students from ITIs who already have a skill, let's say a person who's done an electric course in ITI may start a shop to sell electric goods or repair electric goods. And we give them the funds through our donors to actually set up something. And for 3 years, we hold the hand, and we've created a community of such entrepreneurs. We call this program Nano Unicorn, and it's being done under the support of OSDA and Mr. Bagchi, Subroto Bagchi. Similarly, closer home in Nasik, we are talking to Sayadri Farms and we already partner with them. And one of our Tata company partners, Tata Capital, is supporting an entrepreneurship program. And the beauty of it is we are linking this entrepreneurship program to the ecosystem of the Sayadri Farms. Sayadri Farms is a thriving business. They already have a huge number of farmer producer organizations in their universe. They have a large export business. And so there are many opportunities for people to add value in this ecosystem of Sayadri. And we are leveraging that to bring, to train students to see what are the opportunities in this thriving ecosystem where they can add value. I think these kind of different approaches to entrepreneurship, of linking it to an existing business which will benefit, so the business benefits and the young person, entrepreneur, also benefits. I think this is the hallmark of Tata STRIVE, and we encourage this kind of new ways of thinking solutions. So in that way, we also are, encourage a sort of solution mindset, because that's very important in the skill development, which is fraught with all kinds of challenges. Right. And I think the reason why the scale is not happening in this country is because each case is different, each state is different, each district is different, each location has a different challenge. And therefore, being able to navigate this complexity, bearing in mind your strong foundation is I think, very critical.
Yeah. I would like to go back to the first part of the conversation where you were talking about being agile and forward looking. What would be your advice, let's say, to a whole lot of our audience who may not be aware of what it means to be agile? Let's say to be agile means you're already prepared. In case you're not prepared, then how are you going to speed up, right? So this is something which Tata STRIVE has done with people, process, and technology over a period of time. So perhaps that has helped you in being agile. So how do these other organizations or smaller organizations and companies take this forward? Is there something you can share with them?
Yes, of course. So I think if the response that is needed is immediate, you need to be agile and you need a solution that is immediate. I think the best thing I can offer is to collaborate. Collaborate with somebody, a partner who you can leapfrog on information, on process, on technology. They will help partner with you and enable that journey to happen faster. Yeah. But having said that, it's important to strengthen your own roots. Mm-hmm. And it's never too late to start. And I would think that investing in people and developing the right kind of teams and their mindset is extremely important. Mm-hmm. And for that, you need training, you need exposure to people, you need them to be exposed to new ideas, and also about adopting technology. It's never too late. Technology should never be something that's sitting outside just helping you with the MIS. So there are three things I believe that are important, Madhuri. I think it's a lot about people, because I'm a great believer in great teams do great things. So when you have the right kind of people who are married to a great vision or a objective or goal that your organization has, and everybody is passionate about it. So passion is the other thing. Then you have a great team, and investing in that team is important. So I think, when you say agility also needs a little bit of training. So we actually created a course, which all our employees did on what agility means to me. What are the components of agility? Whether it is a growth mindset, how I need to champion change, how I may need to learn new skills and discard my old habits, how I need to learn to respond faster because change is happening all the time. So I need to respond faster. How I need to embrace technology. All these things I need to ask, I need to collaborate with people. All these are behaviors of an agile team. And building these need constant reminders. They may need training, for little formal training, and there are ample number of courses also that are available. And the reason why I say training is because it adds a little formality to the whole thing and gives a little structure to it. So that's about people. Then there are processes. You can have a process that is linear, that goes all the way up. If one department has to talk to the other, you go all the way up. Then the two department heads talk. Then it comes down to the person in that department. Instead of that, you can have a direct connect by creating cross-functional teams that need to know, because the information flow happens faster, and that's important. When things are changing, the immediacy of getting the new information is very important. So having these kind of cross-functional smaller teams with greater level of information sharing is important. And the third thing is about technology. To use technology strategically, cleverly, and there is nothing that technology can't do. Except of course replace creativity and thought, but there is a lot that it can help us in terms of being agile. So it's people, process, technology. I see these three things as key aspects that you should think about when you're working towards restructuring or replanning your organization.
Okay, I would just like to come back to the other point you were mentioning about, preparing the ITI students at the rural level. I have a question in connection with that about district level skill development, which is, in the news today. There is a lot of buzz around this because there are many government initiatives also which have come up trying to strengthen the transparency and governance at the district level. And Tata STRIVE being a name for transparency and trust, what would you like to say about how we can strengthen district level skill development? Is there something you can share about how this can work very well, let's say, in making the local youth employable, helping them with jobs or entrepreneurship opportunities?
Absolutely. And why is district level, if I, just think about the question you asked on why district level. It's simply, very logical microcosm of the larger India. And the reason is that all governance is actually structured around districts. If you see the way our government is structured, every district has its level of governance. And that's why a district makes sense. Yeah. It also makes so governance happens at that level. Secondly, policies, etc., are come down to basically at a district level for further cascading. So, and when decisions are taken, also it's all very likely that these are taken at district level. Mm-hmm. Which is why for us we mandated a large research study on. Let's say Tata STRIVE gets a project to do in a particular district or particular location. How would I make an intervention to decide what sort of livelihood would work, what sort of jobs, is there an appetite of students, is there an aspiration of the young people there? I have a whole lot of questions before I can come up with a solution, right? Mm-hmm. Where do I get this information from? So we thought of conducting a sort of research study along with UNDP and Child Fund, where we wanted to create a district skill development framework. That whether it's a government official, whether it's us, whether it's anyone else who wants to make an intervention, what are the aspects that we need to look at? And this study, actually, we are going to launch soon in January or so. We will be launching the report, it's out, looks at different players in the district. Mm-hmm. Now, the players, they're employers, they're people, they may be small industries or large industry, depending upon your district. But for this conversation between you and me, maybe we are focusing more on the aspirational districts or the districts where the jobs are not, where you don't have large industry, because that's where the challenges lie. So who are these employers? What do their businesses' future look like? Talking to them, talking to young people to find out what are their aspirations. So we did this in Raichur and Kurnool. Mm-hmm. So interestingly, even in these two districts, which are, one is an aspirational, one is not, but they were very interesting distinctions. So in one of the districts, the aspiration for moving out, that is migrating, even for a better job, is low. Mm-hmm. And in today's age, where the jobs may not be where you are, but may be away, your ability to be mobile is a critical, it's a function of your being able to get the job. Now, given that in one district where there was this very clear tendency that we found, our strategy would be vastly different. Our strategy would be looking at the local industry, looking at the local produce, how in the agricultural sector, what are the kind of opportunities. Then that Sayadri model, which I mentioned about existing businesses, can you link up certain opportunities to strengthen the existing businesses, which can be served by rural entrepreneurs? Then, the strategies become different. So I think looking at a district lens to figure out what are the kind of jobs is going to be very critical, especially given this kind of migration that has happened. Mm-hmm. People will be looking at what they can do locally. And it does not have to be agri or agri-allied only. That's the other distinction I want to make. So let me just, I often think of this, that one of the things that India is defined by is our celebration of culture, functions, festivals, and people spend a lot of money there, even in rural areas. You take any religious function, you take a wedding, there's so much enthusiasm and people do spend a lot of money there. Now, aren't there opportunities for local women to actually become rural entrepreneurs there?
Yeah.
To create businesses related to wedding functions. So somebody, a young smart girl with who is trained on the computer could perhaps be doing photo albums, could be creating digital memories of that wedding. There could be local artisans who could become decorators, and some lady who is talented in tailoring could actually become the designer and could procure material and outfits for. So it's more like a wedding planner. But if we can have it in urban India, can we not have this in rural India? So I think these kind of stretching your boundaries and imagination and creating an ecosystem where we support and create such models, I think could be an interesting way of dealing with some of the rural job challenges, especially women. Being a woman, I'll just finally like to say that any organization in the social space that we are in, that is in the skill development space, I think that the challenge that we're dealing with is both of quality and scale.
Right.
To do things on scale and keeping the quality, and at the same time keeping the local flavor, because the local challenge would be unique. And I think these are three aspects that will constantly remain wherever you go. And I think the challenge is in creating models which address all these three. And therein lies the challenge, and therein lies I think the exciting thing about scale.
Yes. I like the way you brought the local flavor to the challenges and the need for scalability and things. I think on that note about bringing the local, and that is what India needs today, more inclusivity. I would like to close this conversation between you and me, but I look forward to speak to you again to continue this conversation. Thank you so much, Ms. Anita. Thanks a lot for talking to me today.
Thank you, Madhuri. Thank you. It was delightful to speak to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.